You know the saying, be careful, it might be too good to be true. A concerned friend or family member might tell you this when you find that good deal that doesn't seem real or has a catch. So if you see a budget OLED, does that make you stop and think, is this too good to be true? Because maybe it is. Hey, I'm Nicholas from Rtings.com. Today we're going to review the AOC AGON Pro AG276QZD2. It's a 27-inch 1440p QD-OLED gaming monitor. You've heard plenty about those. But unlike the other models we've already reviewed that have a 360Hz refresh rate, this one has a lower 240Hz refresh rate. And that isn't the only thing that's lower. It also costs less than those other monitors, so it's considered a budget OLED. But what's the catch here? And is it worth getting? Right away, you see that the monitor looks different, to say the least. If you're like me and like everything symmetrical, you might not be a fan of the design. It comes with different shapes throughout, and even the stand isn't perfectly straight. Plus, the base is a 5-sided asymmetrical shape that we really don't know how to describe. AOC says it's supposed to make it easier to place your mouse and keyboard in front of it, like if you have them on an angle. Sure, I guess. But hey, don't judge a book by its cover. It's actually really well made with plastic materials on the back and steel on the stand. There's not much to knock here, and it's pretty stable even when you actually do knock it. It's so stable that even adjusting it on the stand can cause the entire monitor to move, so you need a bit of strength to adjust it. And luckily, it offers all common ergonomic adjustments. And while we're here, let's quickly look at the inputs. It has your standard range of ports without many extra features. It has one DisplayPort and 2 HDMI ports, but they don't offer high 2.1 bandwidth like on some higher end monitors that we're seeing these days. And while it has a USB hub too, it lacks a USB-C port to quickly connect a laptop. Now that we know that, let's talk about the picture quality. It has the same near infinite contrast ratio that OLEDs are known for, without any blooming around bright objects. Just keep in mind that it only displays these perfect blacks in dark rooms because the black levels rise in bright rooms, making them look purple. And it's still decent enough to use in a bright room if you want to. It gets bright enough to fight glare from lamps and overhead lights, plus the coating reduces glare really well. Just don't place it opposite a sunny window or have light directly facing it, because then it's harder to properly see the screen. It does get brighter in HDR though, enough for small highlights to pop. But like any OLED, it can't maintain this high brightness with larger highlights. It also struggles with accurate PQ EOTF tracking. It doesn't let all highlights get the brightest they could, as it has a slow roll-off before reaching its peak brightness. This isn't the biggest issue with HDR though. That's because it struggles to display a wide range of colors in HDR, worse than most QD-OLEDs. This is a known issue, so it isn't with our unit alone. It has limited coverage of both the DCI-P3 and Rec 2020 color spaces, so it can't display all colors needed for your favorite HDR content. This means that colors aren't as vivid as on most other QD-OLEDs either, but at least it displays dark colors well in dark rooms. Keep in mind that these results are using the HDR peak picture mode, which actually clamps the gamut the least, so other modes are worse. It doesn't have the same issue in SDR though, and displays a wide range of colors in the sRGB color mode. Of course, you need to calibrate it to get this perfect coverage, but even without calibration, colors are accurate. Sure, there are some white balance and gamma issues, but overall, it looks great. Just know that using the sRGB mode locks you out of most settings, so you can't really customize it. The last thing we'll talk about regarding picture quality is the text clarity. Text looks decent, exactly like any other 27-inch 1440p QD-OLED. Of course, text isn't as sharp as on an LCD display with the same pixel density, as there's fringing around letters. Using Windows ClearType can help reduce this fringing, but it doesn't remove it completely, and how much this bothers you changes from person to person. Plus, like any QD-OLED, there's also fringing at the top and bottom edges of windows. With that out of the way, let's talk about the all-important gaming. For starters, you can only reach the monitor's max refresh rate over DisplayPort, and your graphics card needs to use compression for 10-bit signals. But the max refresh rate is lower over HDMI due to bandwidth limitations. Besides that, it supports FreeSync VRR and is G-Sync compatible, but it doesn't support HDMI 4 in VRR. Alright, normally when we get to the motion handling part of an OLED review, it's quick and easy. Motion looks sharp on pretty much any OLED. And that's actually the case here, but we had to update the software of the G-Menu program on our PC to get that smooth motion. This is because before updating the software, the monitor used frame skipping. This made motion look worse because it wasn't displaying all the frames it needed. While this is something that older monitors used, it was pretty surprising to see on a modern monitor. We initially tried so many different things to fix this frame skipping issue. We used different PCs, cables, reset the monitors, you name it. Only updating the G-Menu software made the frame skipping stop, and motion looks as it should on an OLED. Just keep in mind that we didn't actually update the monitor's firmware to fix it. We tried that at the beginning. It was the program software that we updated. We know it's a weird issue, but we can't explain why it happened. And we aren't in the business to know why. We just wanted to talk about what happened. Besides motion, it has low input lag for a responsive feel, but only at its max refresh rate. This is because the input lag is higher with 60 and 120 Hz signals, but you could use VRR at 60 or 120 Hz to get lower input lag. There are some other downsides when it comes to gaming. Like any OLED, it has noticeable VRR flicker with changing frame rates, which is most distracting in dark scenes. Another negative is that it can't take full advantage of modern gaming consoles. It supports downscaled 4K signals, but only at 60 Hz. This means that on an Xbox, you could only get HDR at 60 Hz, since that console only supports HDR with 4K signals. Plus, it doesn't support VRR with the PS5. Now that we know how it performs, is it worth getting? In short, no, it's not worth getting. Even though it's a cheaper entry into the QD-OLED market with many of the benefits of an OLED, it's just a case where it's too good to be true. The subpar HDR performance is a big red flag and a reason to stay away from the monitor. Plus, it's not that reliable if you have to update the software to avoid a frame skipping issue. So if you want a more reliable option, then it's better to spend a bit more. Even something like the Gigabyte Aorus FO27Q3 costs only a bit more when it's on sale, and it's a big upgrade in performance. It has a higher 360 Hz refresh rate, supports HDMI 2.1 bandwidth, and most importantly, displays a wider range of more vivid colors in HDR. If you're set on getting a 240 Hz OLED though, there are some other options you can get that are close in price. The Asus ROG Strix XG27AQDMG is another low-cost OLED that provides a ton of value. While it doesn't have many extra features either, like HDMI 2.1 bandwidth, it just doesn't have the same bugs as the AOC. One difference is that it has a WOLED panel and not QD-OLED. Normally we'd say that it doesn't display the same vivid colors, but in this case, it actually has better colors than the AOC. That's all for the AOC AGON Pro AG276QZD2. If you want more details on the monitor, check out our written review. The link is in the description below. Until next time, I'm Nicholas from Rtings.com, where we help you find the best product for your needs. Ciao. So if you want a more reliable option, that is, let me check again. So if you want a more reliable option, I can't say reliable. Reliable. Yeah.
Reliable.
More reliable.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah.
I can always count on you.
Thanks.